Namaste and welcome back to today's episode of Mahabharata Matters. In the previous episode, we saw that Yudhishthira wanted to perform the Rajasuya Yajna. The biggest hurdle was Jarāsandha. Krishna mentioned that even he couldn't vanquish Jarāsandha. Yudhishthira wanted to know why Krishna could not defeat him. Krishna narrated the story of King Brihadratha of Magadha Desha. He was married to the twin princesses of Kashi Desha, but neither of them had borne any children. Brihadratha was unhappy about this. He had retired to the forest. There he met a rishi called Chandakaushika. When he asked Brihadratha for the reason for his sadness, he said he wanted to have a son. Rishi Chandakaushika gave him a mango. He told him, "Give this to your wife and you will beget a valiant son." And he went away. Brihadratha was happy. He brought the mango and gave it to both his wives. They both ate half each. They both conceived all right, but when they delivered, they had both delivered half a baby which was sliced in the middle. They got very scared and threw away the pieces of the baby to the woods. A Rakshasi named Jara was roaming the forest. She picked up a piece of the meat and she was excited to eat it. She came a few more steps and found one more piece. She picked that up too because she was happy that she got a big meal. When she was holding both the pieces together, the pieces fused together and the baby came alive. Jara got scared. She instantly brought that baby to the king Brihadratha. She narrated to him what had happened in the forest. He was elated. Jara had put together the two pieces of flesh and made it into a baby. In honor of her, he named the baby as Jarāsandha. He grew up to be a very valiant person and all his power was seated in his Gada. He had defeated Krishna too many times because he grew vengeance against him as he had killed Kamsa. Because of his mace, the Gada, even Krishna could not defeat him. One time, Jarāsandha had thrown the Gada at Krishna. The Gada missed Krishna by a little bit, but then it got stuck in the ground. He could not pull that back up. So now Jarāsandha was not as invincible. So Krishna convinced Yudhishthira that Bhima and Arjuna and himself can definitely tackle Jarāsandha now. With Yudhishthira's permission, all three of them left towards Magadha. They dressed up in drag. They jumped over the wall of Jarāsandha's palace and entered the palatial quarters. Although they were invited by Jarāsandha and offered hospitality, they refused to receive it. They challenged him. They said, "We are your enemies and we want a duel combat with you." Jarāsandha was perplexed. He had never seen these people. Why would they have any enmity? Now Jarāsandha was very intrigued. He wanted to know the reason for their enmity. Because Jarāsandha had captured the 98 kings, they said they had enmity with him. They wanted to release those kings. Krishna identified himself and introduced Bhima and Arjuna as well. Jarāsandha laughed. He said, "Krishna, I have defeated you many times. You are not even my opponent. Arjuna looks small and he doesn't look like a worthy opponent either. Bhima looks like a good build. He may be a match to me. Let me battle him." He agreed to combat a duel with Bhima. Somehow he sensed an impending calamity. So he appointed his son Sahadeva as the future king. And then a fierce battle ensued between Bhima and Jarāsandha. Bhima was getting tired. At that time, to encourage him, Krishna reminded that Bhima was the son of Vayu and he could rip apart Jarāsandha in no time. Taking this as a hint, Bhima held the 2 feet of Jarāsandha and ripped him apart and sliced him in the middle. And as soon as the pieces fell down, something strange happened. The 2 pieces came back together again and became a person all over. This happened time and time again. Bhima was getting exhausted. Then Krishna took a twig, sliced it into 2, and flipped the sides and threw them on different quarters of the arena. Bhima understood that Krishna was trying to give him a hint. Bhima got the hint. He sliced Jarāsandha for one last time and flipped the head and the feet into the opposite direction so they could not come back together again. Jarāsandha had died. Now, Krishna, Bhima and Arjuna went and released all the 98 kings Jarāsandha had captured. They were very grateful to these people. They said they would partake in Yudhishthira's yajna and would become his friends. Krishna also talked to Sahadeva and he said, "Your father was great, but he was devious and crooked in capturing all these kings, so he had to be punished." Krishna also told Sahadeva to partake in Yudhishthira's Rajasuya Yajna. They were very happy and they went back to Indraprastha. Yudhishthira was elated to hear about the happenings too. So, what do we learn from this story? Jarāsandha was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. He was a good king too, but his problem was his greed for power and wanted to sacrifice the kings for his own benefit. No matter how virtuous we are, our vices can catch up with us sometimes. We may be generally good, but we have to be mindful if our mind or our actions are being adharmic. For the combat, Jarāsandha could have easily picked Arjuna or Krishna. He would have defeated them with no problem. But then he picked Bhima, whom he thought was equal to him or a worthy opponent. There is no greatness in winning over someone that may be weaker than us. Having a worthy opponent shows the true valor as well. Enemies do not accept hospitality from their opponents. That is why Bhima, Krishna and Arjuna did not want to eat at Jarāsandha's house. But when we accept someone's hospitality, we can't be their enemies. We see an effect of the same principle later on in Kurukshetra war as well. Krishna asked Yudhishthira to eradicate the problem from the root. Jarāsandha had many problems up his sleeve. Many opponents were his friends. Instead of cutting branches and leaves, it's better to get rid of the problem from the root itself. And that's exactly what the Pandavas did in this episode. With these thoughts, we come to the end of today's episode. Remember, in this series, we are discussing matters of Mahabharata because even today, Mahabharata matters. Hari Om!